Hey everybody, Eric Dorward here with the Spartan Rocketry Club, and we are finally finishing the build of the Estes DARC-1. In the intervening time since the last video, I clear coated the rocket, and really any time that you have decals, it is, I mean, it's not essential, but it's a really good idea to clear coat. The clear coat, I mean, it doesn't really add anything to the rocket, but it does protect the decals. It kind of cements them in place and also provides a little bit of protection for them. Because remember, after all, they're just a very thin sheet of plastic, and that little bit of paint will help. It didn't really do much to improve the quality or the finish, but it also didn't make it worse either, so that's reassuring. Anyway, there are two very trivial things that need to be done. One is we need to deal with the recovery system, so the parachute specifically. So let's get that out. And the other thing is we need to put the engine motor retention system on the back. Now, I've dry fit this several times just to make sure this works, because this is one of those things that you get one crack at. We need CA glue for this, and it bonds really, really quickly. So I want to make sure that I can get, oops, it probably helps out of the right direction. I can get this on very quickly and in one stroke. It wouldn't actually be the worst idea here, and you can see I'm kind of chewing up the tube a little bit in doing this. That's not a problem, of course, because it's going to get covered up. But it wouldn't be the world's worst idea to sand over the end here just a little bit to make it smoother, but if it's not going on well. All right, so I've test fit that repeatedly. It should work, fingers crossed. I'm breaking out my CA. I'm going to go light on this, and I'm going to try to get it far back, about as far back as it'll go here. And again, I don't need much. So we're going to go really, really light on this stuff. In fact, right now I'm not even squeezing any out. I'm just brushing stuff that's already there. And that's pretty good. All right, again, watch your fingers. CA is not for unsupervised kids. So, all right, and getting it ready, and on it goes in one motion, and it's pushed all the way back. I can see there's a little bit of CA that kind of squeaked through, so I'm going to get myself a little piece of paper towel here and try to mop that up. Now be careful with this, because you're getting it on a paper towel that you're probably going to then touch. And ooh, look at that. See the puff of smoke? Yeah, this stuff, it's nasty. It is not a friendly material. So, yeah, all the more reason to use it very sparingly and only when you absolutely need it. You really don't want to be building everything using CA. All right, so I'm going to absolutely let that dry for a little bit. Then I'm going to make sure this actually fits. I'm sure it will. It is entirely possible, by the way, that you will need to sand the interior in here. Or you might have to scrape the inside of it with your hobby knife, because the CA, I pushed it, and there's a little bit that seeped out. I tried to mop as much of that up as possible, of course, which you just saw. But if there's any residue left, that could be a problem. And if I kind of deform the tube inward, that would make getting a motor in here also difficult. Naturally, though, I'm not going to worry about that until the CA glue is assuredly dried, because I don't want to test fit a motor in here and find that the CA was not completely dry and then have a motor permanently installed. That'd be bad. All right, so that's good. The other thing that we need to do is deal with recovery. So the recovery in this is kind of odd. We have these two shock cords, and I hope that these don't end up being the failure points, because they're basically impossible to replace in this rocket. That extra paint that's on there, I hope didn't do anything to the strength of the elastic, or corroded or anything. Same here. There's some of the elastic that I just couldn't avoid painting. But anyway, these two, the instructions say, are going to come together. I tied loops into the end of them. They're kind of slip knots. You can adjust them a little bit, but I can shorten it up, I guess, if I really want to. But this is the anchor point. They're going to come together, and the parachute's going to go in between them. The instructions suggest that we can use the parachute string just to tie to connect them, but I think I'm going to go with my reliable um, barrel swivel here. And I don't know, maybe this is a time for a big one. It won't really make a difference. The weak point here is the strings in the parachute, not the barrel swivel. So I think the regular ones probably do just fine. Maybe medium-sized ones in my little box here. Probably help though if I could close the box. All right, so let's move the rocket parts aside for a moment. Here's the parachute. Open it up. Get the strands separated. Okay, I'm going to collect them all. Try not to cross them over too much. I mean, this is going to get a little messy because it always does. I'm going to gather the three together. Make them narrow here so I can fit them through the eye. Through they go. Reopen the loop. Actually, I only have two on this side, so let's try to figure out which one I dropped. I dropped the top one, apparently. There we go. Now I got three strands on all sides. That's good. It means it actually is going to hold. And then I'm going to pull them tight. And there's my knot. Okay. Now like I said, the instructions say just to basically do that last bit the way I tied the knot, but going through these two. So you could certainly do that. You don't need the barrel swivel. It does help keep the tangling down a little bit. It's not perfect. It doesn't eliminate it entirely, but it does help. But I think the main reason that I decided to actually go with the barrel swivel is in case the chute gets damaged, it would be irritating to try to replace it if I had tied it to these two. So instead, I am just going to take the elastic, put them both through the clasp, the loop and clasp, reclasp it. There we go. That's sealed up. And if I want to, I could certainly tighten these down, but I don't think that'll really it's not going to help. It's not going to hurt one way or the other. If I tighten it all the way down, then I make it much more difficult to replace the chute should that become a necessity. Anyway, that's it. That should take care of all the construction. Now, the way that the instructions say to pack this, so this is kind of unusual. Usually we pack parachute and the shock cord inside the body tube, like in here. Apparently that's not how this is going to work. So the parachute is going to get folded up like usual. And I guess we'll do a Z fold. I'm just storing this right now. I'm not actually going to fly it, but just demonstrate what it would be like. So I'm going to wrap up the chute. And then all this stuff, the chute and the shock cords, I'm going to take the landing gear off here for a moment, just in case I want to damage it. And all this stuff is going to get crammed in this little compartment that we made way back when. And all this stuff is going to get crammed in as well as possible. Who knows how well that's actually going to be, because it's kind of untidy. And there's this little notch in here, so that's where the excess should sneak through. Okay, so all that's more or less secure-ish. And it's not truly, but it's good enough. And then remember, the bottom part of the rocket is going to slide in place like so. And then the idea is Oh, by the way, we don't apparently need any wadding. I mean, it wouldn't hurt because the ejection charge is going to blast up against the tube that's in here, and it's probably not super great to have that done repeatedly, but it should be strong enough to withstand it. But in any event, the ejection charge is going to blow the back off like so, which is a reason why we should probably not have this in the whole way. The farther it goes on, the stickier it is, and we really don't want this coming down hard. So maybe like halfway, just gently like that. The ejection charge blasts this part off. It pulls the shock cord. The shock cord pulls the other shock cord and the parachute out, and that's how deployment works. So I am very interested to see how this is going to fly. This is not a high flyer. Instructions say expect 400 feet on a C. It's not very much. So it should just be a fun launch rather than like a truly impressive mile-high production. So there it is. Questionable paint job. Otherwise, I'm reasonably happy with it. So thanks for watching. We'll see you in the next video whenever I decide to build another kit. So thanks for watching. See you then.